Hi, everyone. Short week this week. We've got Thanksgiving coming up, but hopefully, while you're traveling, you'll have some time to listen to a little Mondays with Mike. So it is Monday. Figured we'd jump right into it and try not to make this too long a topic. I want to talk about what happened to Zillow this month. And for those who are in finance or in real estate, you probably already have a pretty good idea about this. There's been a lot of talk about this. It's been in some major news publications. But the average person who's just has a lot of news to digest maybe is not paying so much attention to this, and maybe you're concerned that it's going to affect your real estate transaction that you're planning. So what is Zillow, first of all? Did Zillow go away? No, Zillow did not go away. They did take a major loss. But Zillow primarily was, and now still is, a data provider. They collect data from people who are looking to sell their home or looking to buy a home, and they primarily sell that data to agents and pair them with potential clients and customers. What they did, I guess going back a couple of years, is they decided to get into the iBuyer space. And they're not the only one to do this. We have OfferPad and we have Open Door, which are still in existence in that space, that are the other big players. Zillow thought we could do this better than anybody else because we have the most data about real estate. Well, in this country at least, they have the most data about people looking to buy and sell homes. I think that is probably true. And it's not just their PR hype. They've become the 800-pound gorilla in the residential real estate space. So what happens when you're an iBuyer? Well, you are receiving requests for offers online. So let's say I want to sell my house. I don't even want to think about the commissions. I don't want to think about people traipsing through. Sounds like a nightmare. Let me just see if I can. It's 2021, right? Let me just see if I can get someone to buy my house by giving them some info online. That's essentially what it is. What's your address? What's your bedroom count? What's your bathroom count? What condition is this in? Upload photos, and pretty much instantaneously, the iBuyer will spit out an offer. And if you accept it, the idea is they're going to close quickly, like a cash offer would, which in New York means probably 30 days. In other places, it might be a lot quicker than that. So already you might be thinking, wow, that sounds a lot like the way stocks and bonds get traded. And so, I'm going to just mention what actually happened to Zillow if you're not sure. They closed down their iBuyer unit. They went from averaging, I think it was an average profit of 6% per home that they were buying and then reselling, to taking a loss of 5 to 7% per house that they still have in their inventory. So right now they're unloading all this excess inventory, really at a loss, on average 5 to 7% lower, which is really bad for them. Phone's ringing. I have nobody to pick it up, and it's across the room, so you'll have to just bear with me while it rings. Is what it is. Don't want to lose my train of thought, though. Why did this not go right for Zillow? So to understand this, you have to really understand where Zillow's coming from. Zillow is now a broker technically, but they're not really in the space the way a Redfin is in the space, where they have agents who are on the ground. They're primarily a really well-funded tech and data company, and they fancy themselves like a housing market maker, where they're going to buy houses and then pair seller with buyer and say, we have all this data. Why can't we just pair buyer with seller? We can cut out the agents. They weren't looking to make a killing. They were targeting 2% profit on each of these. Most of their profits were going to come from things like title services and administrative fees. So it was fee-based. Sounds like a Wall Street market maker, right? But here's the problem. With stocks and with bonds, you need market makers. You need these big buyers and sellers of securities for the plumbing of the securities industry to work. Not so with real estate. Real estate is very much what Wall Street people would probably call over the counter, and not even that, because there's no counter. It's on the ground. It's grassroots. So to come into this space and try to become a market maker, pretty tough to do. And the first one to do it, Zillow wasn't the first, but among the first, likely, to spring all the traps and to to show everybody why it's so difficult. So what do they have to do? I mean, if you're a market maker on Wall Street, you're an essential ingredient in the mix, right? So you can buy lower and sell it higher right away. In real estate, you have to offer something. So you have to offer speed, which means you have less time for diligence, very diligence heavy. It's not like, oh, I have Apple stock that wants to sell me and somebody else wants to buy it. It's the same stock no matter what. Not a security. Every house is different, even two that are built right next to each other. That's a common theme you'll hear me talk about on this series. So you have to do something more. You have to offer speed, which means less time for diligence. You probably have to repair the house. If you're offering a little bit less than market value or what somebody could get if they put it out on the market, you probably have to make some repairs. So Zillow's CEO actually said this. They went from intending to be a market maker to being more like a leveraged housing trader, where they're actually buying these things, taking the risk that a flipper takes on a few projects at a time. Even the big flippers don't have thousands and thousands that they're trying to flip at once. So that's as soon as they ran into, this is the second problem they ran into, as soon as they ran into the same supply and labor shortages and expense overruns that your everyday flipper was running into, they ran into it on a mass scale. It just became untenable at that scale. And I think that was a direct quote almost from the Zillow CEO when I said they went from trying to be a market maker to becoming a leveraged housing trader. The other big problem they ran into, this is what economists call the lemon problem. It's really, you think about this when you go to a used car lot and you're going to buy a car and it turns out it's a lemon, right? You didn't know that there was so much wrong with it. Well, that's because you don't and can't have as much information about the product as the seller. Same in real estate, maybe even more so. There's a lot of inside information in real estate, and I'm using quotes because there's nothing illegal about it. It's a very personal, specific set of information that a seller has about their house. Even if they're putting something in as simple as like bedroom bathroom count, how do you verify that? How do you verify what's being counted as a full bath or a bedroom when maybe it's not, or maybe the layout is a little bit funny? There's only so much you can figure out from looking on the computer. Public record doesn't list bedroom count where I am on Long Island. They don't send people from the town or the county into your home. Even the square footage counts, you're either relying on the seller to measure it or you're relying on the public record. Public record is often wrong. People convert garages, they add extensions. It might not be done perfectly legally, but just like a flipper or a retail buyer who does this more traditionally, is they're getting what they're getting. Same goes for an iBuyer. They can't change the product unless they make major repairs, and that's not in their budget. Now, statistically, if you think about this, statistically, more people are going to sell them houses that are in worse condition than people who have better houses, right? So statistically, they're going to end up with housing stock that is chock full of subpar houses. Why is that? Well, it's very simple. They're using an average price point, and they're probably offering a little bit under that average. If you made all these improvements to your house over the years, and you know what XYZ house sold for down the block, your neighbor Joe, your neighbor Jane, they sold two very similar houses. You know their house is better than yours. I'm not just saying that like every seller thinks their house is better than everybody else's. You can look across the street and see the condition it was in, and you put 100,000 more in. You're not going to accept just under average when you can see what your neighbors got. You'll take the risk and put it on the market, lose the time, pay a commission, and have people come through the house to maximize your price. Alternatively, you look around at your neighbors who they started with a similar house, they made much better improvements, and you're thinking, all right, this is what Zillow is offering me, or this is what the iBuyer is offering to me. This is much more than I think I would get if I put my house, which is not in great condition, on the market. Sure, I'll sell you my house. So they were overpaying for a lot of houses that were in subpar condition because those were the people most likely to take their offer. Sure, that sounds great. Yeah, well, it sounds great if you're the seller, not so much if you're the iBuyer. What does this mean? Is Zillow out of the space? Is iBuying done? No. First of all, and I'm gonna try to wrap this up quickly. First of all, I think we would all be silly to think that technology can't catch up and eventually get better at this, right? Think about 50 years ago. If you told somebody 50 years ago that I'd be delivering this message on, a video recording that you were playing back on your phone at the airport or anywhere, they'd probably laugh and say that's fantasy. So don't think it's totally going away. If there's money to be made and if there are improvements to be made, they will be made. But keep in mind also, this was never a huge part of the space. It's just another option for certain sellers in certain markets. The reasons we just described will make it very difficult for this to become the primary means for buying and selling a house. It's just going to be another option, just like you have an option to sell a house on your own, or you have a choice between realtors who have different marketing strategies. It's good to have innovation and options. And so as an agent, I'm certainly not afraid of the iBuyer. They've been around for a while, first of all. Second of all, we need options. We can't be the only game in town, even if it benefits us as realtors. Zillow also has not gone away. They've gone back to their grassroots, if you will. Maybe they'll be back. What they're talking about doing is, I think they're calling it a power buyer program that they're putting together. This is helping buyers finance what would be presented as like the equivalent of a cash offer. So what does that mean? Well, a mortgage lender might take 30 days in most parts of the country, 45 to 60 days in New York to get a deal closed, and that could put you at a disadvantage. Well, they can provide alternate financing. I'm not sure what terms they'd offer, but they would essentially, take some of the risk on and go for a quick closing, and they would lend the power buyer the money to be more competitive. This is a long one. I think I had kind of said that it was going to be. I really appreciate everybody watching. Very thankful, for all of our past clients and customers. I guess this is a good way to wrap it up. I'm very thankful. I know everybody out there has a lot to be thankful for. Please have a very nice, safe Thanksgiving, and we'll see you as we wrap up the year, heading into the holiday season. Hope everyone has a great Monday.